The way life goes, my sister, my bros, come together, let's go. On my aboriginals, be proud of who you are, no one can take that away. This is a message for the young and the old.
Hello, I'd like to welcome everybody to this podcast. My name is Bart Willoughby, and
my name is Tjimba Possum-Burns,
and this is a program called Message for Young and Old.
Mm-hmm. And we've got a couple of special guests in the building, and this is episode 5 too, Uncle Bart.
Yep,
Wow,
and
so proud.
Oh yeah, this is a special one because we have Maxine Briggs and Shauntai. Shauntai is a classical singer, but she also can sing really amazing blues and jazz. And we have Maxine Briggs, who's actually a roadie.
Was a roadie.
Was. And roadies to musicians are really special. Without them, we wouldn't have became what we ended up. So this is a time we get to say thank you, roadies, for helping us becoming what we ended up as. and so, Maxine, what was it like for you? We're talking about the early 70s.
No.
Huh?
Late 70s.
Late 70s.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's still in the 70s.
It was the 70s, yeah.
Not very far from the 60s. So what was it like at the beginning when you were working as a roadie?
Maybe I'll start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
When I moved to Sydney from Melbourne in early 79. And it was, so I had to go on the dole. It was the early days of the dole as well. And they actually had, instead of having like these job networks that they have now, every dole office was a job network. So you'd walk into the dole office and there was like a wall of all these jobs you could apply for, and you just take it to the counter and say, I'm really interested in that job, and then they connect you. So it was a really good system, and it was very supportive and all that. And I actually got a job at Her Majesty's Theatre through the job network at the CES at the time. And so I was grateful for that. But my job at the theatre was reception. I was a receptionist.
Oh, right.
Which not very sort of responsible. It's a very responsible position, you know. And I'd be going out at night working with bands, and then running late, coming to work the next day.
Oh, right.
So I started to look behind the scenes. Maybe that might be a better place for me.
Yeah.
And just before I got the sack, I ended up doing some training with the lighting designer for the show Annie, which was playing at the theatre when I was working there.
Right.
So Annie was like on for months and months and months, and they do you know, the daytime shows as well. But so there was a woman who was the lighting designer for Annie. And because I was working at the theatre, I had access, you know, to backstage and that.
Oh.
So I'd go and sort of hang backstage and just see what everyone was doing.
Right.
And then this woman was saying, I'm just going to do some training. I'm just going to do some training.
Yeah.
If you're interested. So she set up a training program at the Ensemble Theatre in on the north side of the Harbour Bridge. So this was Hayes Gordon's theatre. Hayes Gordon was from
Near the rocks.
America. Yeah.
Right.
It's just the other side.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'd go in there at like 11 o'clock at night, wait for the production to finish that was on then, and we'd train till 4 in the morning. So we just sort of, learned our chops that way.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So so that was like rigging and all sorts of things that you need to have all those skills.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's when, around that time, you were getting sort of into the entertainment. How did it come about when you met Uncle Bart?
No Fix.
When No Fix was happening and all that.
Yeah.
Was that late 70s when No Fix was happening?
No, this was early 80s.
That was early 80s?
Yeah.
Oh,
81 too?
82, maybe 81, yeah.
81.
81, so I'd been in Sydney a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And learning my craft before they got there.
Yep.
So it's kind of like that's what I was there to do. That's what I felt like when it all sort of came together.
Gadigal and that's always been there, eh?
Wasn't then.
It wasn't then.
No, nothing. There wasn't nothing on the horizon except these guys.
Yep, of course.
That was it. Yeah.
And when you sort of started out, there was a lot of media sort of coming out then, wasn't there? Around
Around the film.
Music,
Yeah,
around
film.
the film and all that sort of
and
stuff.
also there wasn't that much Aboriginal music.
No.
And there wasn't that much radio stations run by black folk.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, there was none.
No,
And you'd think Sydney
It wasn't until the 80s, that started happening.
Yeah, 80s,
Wow, yeah.
Mid-80s even.
86, 87, somewhere in there.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So just to get back to the training,
Yeah, my bad.
Sorry.
I also had another trainer, I suppose. So I worked with this guy who was basically an electrician, but he worked in lighting as well in the sort of like the clubs.
Oh, yep.
So that I was his driver. He didn't have a licence. So I got to drive his station wagon and we drove all the gear around everywhere. And including like stage props, chock-a-block in the back of this, the station wagon. And they had to back out onto the main streets of the city in peak hour. I really learned how to drive also.
Sydney would, eh?
Yeah.
A lot of one-way trips.
Yeah. So he'd also get the job of like sometimes designing stage shows, like the lighting for stage shows.
Yeah.
And one of the shows we did was Young Talent Time. It was their big end-of-year show. And so there was this huge desk, probably as big as that, just a lighting desk for this show. And so I got to work the desk, which was really great,
Lovely.
except that,
Did they have computers in that? Or was it
no, not
all
really.
manual?
Kind of like a matrix thing. So you have this sort of little matrix system
Yeah.
where you could
Connect everything.
You could connect everything. You could also you could do pre-setups, which lights you were going to use. So you could do a line of, different sort of colours or
Is it the beginning
types.
of computers?
Pre-programming sort of thing.
Is it the beginning of computers, so to speak?
Still a bit far away yet.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So it was comfortable. It was comfortable to sort of learn in that environment
Right.
without that extra added knowledge you have to know around computers and things.
Yeah.
Now, so it was much more organic.
Yep.
And also, so I'm working like just learning the craft by doing these things with different theatres. Like one time I worked on a show with John Waters, and I was just the stagehand.
You're talking about Pink Floyd?
No, actor.
Oh, right.
He sings John Beatles stuff, John Lennon stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so he's in this show, and the show had like a car that he had to drive just around the stage. Mm-hmm. So I just sort of feed out the lead as it kind of circled around. So, all kinds of different areas of work that just sort of build up to a sort of depth of knowledge, I suppose. But just getting back to the other guy who I was his driver and apprentice, sort of at hooking up lighting systems, and that included new houses. Oh. Yeah, we'd put in lighting systems in houses. If you needed a job, you'd take jobs like that too, right. Just to sort of have enough pay. There was a lot of varied sort of knowledge, coming into play. But then I was working with sort of theatres doing pantomimes and things. Yeah. So I loved doing pantomimes because they were much more colourful and things happened. A lot of things were going on stage with pantomimes, whereas plays, they moved pretty slow, and you're really only lighting the space of the actors. Yeah. So, so I much preferred, this children's theatre, actually. Yeah. It was much more fun. But I also worked with those big schools on the north side that had, great theatre systems also that available to their students and all that. And they'd put on their end-of-year production. Oh, yeah. So we'd also get to use their equipment. Yep. So we're just sort of building on my...
So by the time you joined us, you were refined, so to speak.
I was ready. Yeah. I was ready. Yeah. And also, before I worked with you guys, I started working with some of the grassroots bands. Sardine B and Spy versus Spy and...
before they became...
XL Capri and lots of people in Sydney. So we'd be doing lighting in the Mansell Room and so all the, Governor's Pleasure and then all the music industry.
Sam McGuell.
Sam McGuell.
The list keeps going on.
Yeah. And I started working with one band who was, like, and in the 80s, everyone was playing keyboards.
Yeah, it was coming out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so many. So it wasn't really my sort of kind of music.
Well, I like Ice House. I always hear Ice House. I'm like, they hit it.
It's Sydney. It was so Sydney. All these keyboards. But, I played with this band, Machinations. Yeah. And I love the Machinations because they were alternative. They didn't think like industry. Yeah. So when we did our first gig together, it was their first gig and my first gig as a band lighting person. So we had just the run of the place, basically. That's awesome. And they bought like a parachute with them. And so they just covered the stage and all their gear in this with this parachute. Yeah. So it was perfect for me because it was great to light them and this really weird sort of space that they created. Yeah. So I had a good time learning the craft. And then when No Fixed Address hit town, people have been saying to me, "Oh, do you know about No Fixed Address?" I go, "Nah, never heard of them." And so anyway, then the movie came along and was playing at the Sydney Opera House.
No, the movie called
Wrong Side of the Road. Okay, that came along. It must have been 82, maybe end of 81, 82.
Yeah, 82, yeah.
And so then I said to Mick Piccioli, who was, booking them at the time, or for this particular tour, and they, so I knew him because he was from Melbourne, and he had a sort of gig guide, pocket gig guide that everybody had. You always had one of his gig guides in your pocket. It really worked. So anyway, because of that, he had a lot of sort of credibility and respect in the industry because he was providing a service that actually worked as well. And so anyway, I said to him, I hear No Fixed Address is coming to Sydney. And he said, yeah, they're going to be launching their film. And I said, if they need a roadie, I'm in. So, if they need a lighting person, I'm ready. And so anyway, a few months later, there's a knock at the door and there's Les and Rick.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah, and they come to interview me.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and the interview consisted of them asking me who was my mom, did I know my relations, how far back did I know them, and it was just all about my Aboriginal side. It wasn't anything about my lighting or anything like that. I said, these fellas must know all about that. And no, didn't really care.
So how long have you been doing theatre?
No. Just do you keep in touch with your family? Those kind of questions, It was great. So, and that's... Well, how long? I don't know. I can't remember how long I was with you guys now, Bart. But
I think it was about 4 or 5 years.
It was really the best.
We went everywhere.
We went everywhere, and we hit the road across the Nullarbor.
And our tours would last for years.
Yeah.
Not months. Years.
And the smell of an oily rag too, I might say.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot of money for gear, let alone food. It was all about getting the message out. It was all about. That's what it was about. And you could ask any of that road crew; they'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, at that time too, you're making a bit of noise, and then people around aren't saying, "Oh, you heard No Fix is coming to town."
Yeah, because they've been.
Yeah.
You're already sort of stomping.
Yeah, that's
the ground
right.
a bit.
And it's pretty full on. Like I said, our tours could last for a year.
Well, it's hard hitting, No Fix. You don't hear.
Well, you know what?
It's really hard hitting out there.
Because I've been working, and I'm like a part of the music community.
Yeah.
For many years actually, when No Fix turned up, and when they turned up, there was not a black fella inside. Apart from me.
Yeah.
But I was kind of flying under the radar too.
Yeah.
And so when they turned up, it was like they just kicked the door down, basically. Mm-hmm. It was a lily white, music scene.
Yeah.
And most people in the music industry, consider themselves to be sort of, I don't know, alternative.
Yeah.
Most of the time, alternative thinking and all of that as well. But No Fix come along. It made everyone question, actually who they were and what they were thinking. And also, every gig we did was just packed.
Yeah.
There was not one gig where we were waiting for people to turn up.
No.
eh?
It's always chock-a-block.
It was so chock-a-block. And because I'd been working in the scene for so long, I kind of knew, you expected a band to build over time, but they just hit the road running.
Yeah.
And it might have been the film, but it was definitely their music.
Yeah.
And
I was always saying that if he ever does a film again, he should call it The Right Side of the Road.
yeah,
Do another film,
yeah,
Started off on the wrong side.
yeah.
But true, the film sort of took it away, didn't it? Because you see the film in a lot of libraries now and a lot of universities and schools, and people talk about the film all the time, even people in my generation.
But it's so raw.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's what it is
what's
too.
And it's
the
also,
beauty of it.
I think it's the first movie that the community and the film director and the actors were one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's a community story, and they filmed it.
That's beautiful.
I might also say, when No Fix Address come to town and I started working with them, before they came to town, I've been working with another woman who was doing front of house. So we were like the all-girl crew for hire.
Yeah.
And so we started working together, No Fixed Address.
Yeah.
That's Katie Yowitt.
Yeah.
And she, before that, she'd been working with it's a band from Queensland. Trust me to forget it now. The Go-Betweens.
Oh, the Go-Betweens. Yeah.
So she'd been working with the Go-Betweens.
That's
and
the
then,
girl drummer. Yeah.
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 And then they kind of broke up or something.
Yeah.
And then she came down to Sydney and was looking for work. So then we started looking for work together.
Yeah.
We were sort of looking to work together.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of other female roadies at the time. There was ACDC. They had female roadie, Australian girl.
Yeah.
She was great. Tana.
Tana.
We were all good mates, all the girl roadies. And there's another one, I can never remember her name, but I'd like to mention her. But anyway, it was a sort of like a growing community of girls getting involved in production. Yeah.
Wow, that'll be a good episode in like the future to get all the roads.
That's
That's the story
Get the girl roadies together.
Girl roadies together.
That would be great.
Wow.
Well, you definitely got to write a book about. Your music life, because that's, I think, one of the. You were there right at the point of where we were beginning. All of Australia, not just black fellas, white fellas too, and we were trying to see how all this works, and we're still here.
Yeah, that's right.
So-
And the music industry was also developing and,
Yeah.
sort of working out how to do it,
Yeah, that's right.
how to do the business of music.
Yeah. They might have mucked up there
They
somewhere.
did muck up a couple of times.
But at least we're still here. And anyway, it was nice talking to you about your life, and very, very proud of you, Maxine. And
Very
Thank you,
proud.
Bart.
and
Thanks, Art.
yeah, and
Thanks, Jim.
and I hope a lot of people start to understand how important your work was to making us who we are today.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, and now we're about to listen to a bit of music from Uncle Bart, and I hope you guys enjoy it out there.
Parties happening in the bush tonight. The party's happening in the back of your gardens tonight, and every other night tonight. Spring is in the air, making love is everywhere. Hey. Birds and bees are, yes, doing it. Trees and leaves and branches are just feeling it. Cows and sheep are chewing on it. Cats and other cats are looking for it. Spring is in the air, making love is everywhere. Hey. 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 Whales and dolphins are swimming in it. Kangaroos and emus are just jumping and a bopping. Koala bears are waiting in the trees for it. Dogs and other dogs are looking for it. Spring is in the air, making love is everywhere. Hey. Spring is in the air, making love is everywhere. Kookaburras are just laughing at it. Wombats are just laying on their backs, waiting for it. Cockroaches and locusts are building on it. Cats and dogs are still looking for it. Spring is in the air, making love is everywhere. Spring is in the air, making love is everywhere. Hey. 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 Hey.
And our other special guest in the building too, this episode 5, Shauntai.
Shauntai, yes.
Shauntai.
Shauntai is an opera singer. I just think she's one of our most powerful singers in the world.
I just want to say what an honour to have her here too.
Yep.
Uncle Bart.
And also, I don't think she only just sings classical. I think she's an amazing blues singer too. Actually, I got her to back me up on a couple of songs, and she was just amazing. No practice, nothing. She just knew straight away. That's a real professional. And I just love her opera, her songs that she sings in opera. They're just so... She's just got this power. The only person I know who has that power is Tracy Donovan. But I think you're even more higher than that. But she's not very far from you. But you're just a powerhouse when you sing opera.
Thanks so much too, Steve.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Tjimba, and Uncle Bart. I feel incredibly honoured to be sharing this platform with you. And Casey Donovan, yes, I'm a huge fan of hers, so to be compared to her, I'm really honoured.
I actually got to work with her, and the opening of the Rugby World Cup.
Wow, yeah, that would have been awesome.
I got to hang out with Mel Meninga, but she was there with the two Papua New Guinea girls, and she just blew me away. There's always been a thing with singers and musicians, but there are singers that you just go, wow. And you and her are that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then I just want to say too, I've did 1 or 2 shows with you, and the diversity that you have and the spirit that you have, and as a showman, unbelievable, and always got hairs up on my shoulders, and that's been sincere, for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Feel shaped.
So what was it, what inspired you really to do what you do? Because you don't just look at music in one sort of genre and angle, you look at music in different ways, don't you?
Absolutely. Well, ever since I was a little girl, say about 3 years old, all I wanted to do was sing and make people smile and tell stories. And my imagination was running rampant even then. And it was when I was 7 years old, I was in the lounge room and this woman came on TV and I just freaked out. I ran into the bathroom. I said, Mum, you've got to come see this lady. She's so beautiful and she's my colour. I don't care being black now because I used to, I grew up in a white family mostly. I mean, my dad's Aboriginal, but I was always wondering why I was my colour. And my auntie actually told me it's because I was born in the night time and she was born in the day, which I think is really sweet. I believed her at the time. But this woman I ran in, I said, Mum, you got to see this lady. She's so beautiful. And that was Whitney Houston.
Oh,
and when I first saw her, I saw what I believe I was born to do, is to sing. I saw my future in her. I saw this woman standing up there telling stories, being proud, with a stunning voice and just stage presence. It was everything I wanted to be. And since then, I've just worked towards that dream.
Wow, that's crazy. At a young age too.
No, I don't think you need to work. You've already got it.
You've got it.
Oh,
it's like when you do capture that at a young age too, it's always like... it's more than intuition, isn't it? It's like, I'm meant to be this person. And the funny thing is, last time we did a show in Castlemaine and you were talking about how you act and want to get into comedy. Like,
Yeah.
You don't get much people out there thinking like that.
Well, I think I'm funny, so I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I think so.
And also, she writes her own script.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I've just actually started, as just going back to what you were saying before, singing different genres. So starting out with, I wrote my first song at 10, which was called Teenager Romance, because I knew all about it then. And, and then I grew up on R&B and gospel, contemporary, came into the world of opera, and now writing a musical, which is inspired by the life of my late father, Wally Carr, who was a champion boxer. So I'm writing the book, so I'm writing the script and composing it as well.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, with a very incredible co-composer, Ashley Clapp, who has done a number of musicals, so I'm in really good hands as a mentor, and working very closely with Maestro Stefan Kazamenos, who is helping me just bring my music to life.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait till the opera starts taking you in. I think they're very close, because I don't see anybody who has your power. So when you sing opera, it's like when you sing them songs, it's like you've always been there. I've never heard anybody do that really. Yeah?
So like the R&B, like when at the time you were singing R&B as young fella, when did the opera come along? When did you feel like you could sing opera?
Well, I never ever considered opera. I didn't know anything about opera until Rob and I went to see the Gondwana Children's Choir one night. And during interval, Rob saw the extraordinary Debra Cheetham across the room, and he said, "We need to go say hello to her." I said, "We don't even know her." He said, "Yeah, shout out to Debra." Yeah. She was just, it was a serendipitous moment. And she introduced me to the world of opera, and she actually asked, when we met her, she asked us what we did in our lives, and I said, I'm working full-time, but I'm a singer. She said, okay. Well, I've just finished auditioning around the country looking for Indigenous singers who may have the opportunity and possibility of following a career in classical singing for her opera that she wrote, Pecan Summer, which did 5 seasons, mind you, and one at the Sydney Opera House, which is incredible.
That's right. It was history, wasn't it?
History making, absolutely. Right. And so we met her, and I missed out on the auditions, but she heard, I said, I've got a clip of me singing some gospel on YouTube, and she listened to that, and she heard the what's the word? Yeah, I've gone blank. Sorry, the
final print.
Yeah. she
final print.
Yeah, she could hear. She could hear the possibilities of my voice, and ever since then I've been developing and training and performing in opera.
That's weird, because I remember when we did auditions for Mixed Relations, we did it in the King's Cross. We actually hired a house for a week and invited all these people in for the newspaper and that. And this one girl came in to audition. She sat down and we started talking. And then an hour later, she got up and left. And the other guy that was interviewing her, he turned around and he goes, Bart, did she play her instrument? I went, no, she didn't. It was the way that she was talking, just her presence. And we just by that, we hired her. Not even hearing her play. It was the way that she talked, the way that she handled herself. And I think that's what Cheetham would have saw within you. You know, she would have saw the same power. Oh, this girl can handle herself.
Wow.
Yeah?
That's incredible. And what you were saying, Uncle Bart, like back to feeling that when you hear me sing opera, it's like as if I've always done that. It's, my dream, first of all, is to share what I have. I'm now doing my master's in music performance teaching, and I want to share what I have to other people to find their voice so that they have those moments as well. But my name in French is Shauntai Chérie.
Shauntai Chérie. I can speak French.
That should be the next introduction. Here's Shauntai Chérie.
Yeah. Which does, if you don't know what it means sing dear. Sing,
Wow.
Yeah.
You're meant to be.
Well, I just said, oui, which means, oh, yeah.
So, but in that saying, I think, finding the place where I feel free in writing songs myself as well. My late husband, shout out to Rob, who was an incredible poet.
Amazing
man, yeah.
I'm glad I got to hang out with him. I'm very, very proud.
Yeah, he always said to me, sing your own stuff. And I'm really at that point now where I've done my training, I've done all the hard yards. I started out as, singing at 10, writing my own song. Now I'm composing songs that really, I want to be that Whitney to other people.
And writing your own script.
Yeah.
I can see it. Those shows where you do those shows and it's just theatrical.
Yeah.
You got artists that do shows and they're unbelievable, but then you got those artists that have that theatrical thing going. I can see that.
Like I said, she don't think out of the box. She thinks out of the planet.
Even he knows me well.
You know what? That's it. That should be the start. Every slogan, everything you should say that every time.
Yeah, I love that. But it's true. I love epic things. When I write scores and I compose. I think in film score sense. Above the earth and below the earth.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
and that's where we get it from.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good description for classical music because it does go down there and it does go up there. Yeah. It's classical music sort of reminds me of Rome.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, that's where it's sort of just.
Well, it's a hard technique. It's complicated, and the list just keeps going on.
It's diverse too. If you go back to when.
But if you're in it, you might as well say you're hanging out with God, so to speak.
Yeah, the beauty of it also is it's unamplified, especially for singers. Having that sensation of being so connected to your body and connected to the music, to just to break through the bone and the marrow of people, and touching the hearts of people through music, and that's always been my desire through gospel singing, through opera, through any type of singing, is to reach those places that we all really need. We really need those times when sometimes words or can't explain what we need. The music can reach those places.
Delivers.
That's weird because
delivers.
Yeah, because in the 18th century in Broome, the 18th century in Broome, the preacher that ran the church there, I think even the nuns, they were classically trained musicians, and so they taught the community how to play classical music in the 18th century.
And with the monks.
That's why that magic is still there.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And when you hear it, like what you said in the last episode about Jimmy Chai and all that, you hear that in the music.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Chai, I was in his the second season of his second musical, Corrugation Road.
Corrugation Road.
Yeah, I was cast in that one in 1998.
And that's weird because
I would have been a kid.
Yeah, well, you wasn't born when I was hanging out with Jimmy Chai.
With Uncle Nicky and all them. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jimmy Chai used to live just down the road, 2 houses down from where I lived, and so sometimes in the morning or afternoon, I'd find a piece of paper on the ground, toilet paper, and I open it up and I go, what's this here? So I pass it over to Margaret. She goes, this is Jimmy Chai's play. What play? He's writing one called A Brand New Day. I said, right. And so I used to find all these bits of paper around the house because he'd write something and chuck it.
I've heard of those stories. I remember when I did Corrugation Road, they told me those stories as well.
Yeah, so I found all that. And also, the weird thing was, they they weren't playing the reggae music by then. They were still playing that honky-tonk sort of country.
And a bit of the gospel too. They had a lot of gospel.
That's right. And so they asked me to just to show them. In other words, they're not dumb, but they just wanted me to show how that side of it worked. And when I did, they got it. In other words, it spread their horizon more. Just like Tommy Emmanuel.
Tommy Emmanuel.
You know, he wanted to learn reggae just to explore the thing, and so. But I think what they were doing was, exploring their horizon. I'd already mastered reggae in that year.
Yep.
Yeah? And so I'm actually playing bass for Cuckles at that time. So I could show them how to play reggae through the bass. Yeah? And once they got it, they're not dumb. They just needed it to expand their horizon. And so when Jimmy Chai started to rehearse the play and that, he called me up because I was one of the main instigators that swapped them from country to reggae. And so they would have eventually do it. Like I'm saying, they're not dumb people.
That's like the Pigram song that they do on the album, eh?
Yeah.
No one knows when the sun is... It's got a bit of reggae to it, and you don't hear it. Because I remember I was at the Deadly Awards one time when I was with the Pigram brothers, and I told him who I was. I said, I'm Selwyn Burns' son, I love you fellas. Bart and Selwyn, they taught us how to play a bit. Give him my love.
Well, that's right. And I think back in them days, they'd never seen anybody take off 100 miles per hour.
And scrap metal was unbelievable back then too. That was a bad shout out to scrap metal.
But me and Selwyn would take off about 100 miles per hour and forget the people back there. We'd just take off and forget where we were. And I don't think the people from the desert and even from Alice Springs saw that. And that's I think, it was just part of the adventure.
Well, what you were saying they're not dumb. Absolutely, they're not dumb. We're part of the longest continuing culture in the world. And if you look at the different genres that we've adapted into our lives and look at, we've got country singers, we've got gospel, opera classical, rock singers, reggae, everything.
Angus Rabbit.
Hey, what about us rappers over here?
And rappers, hip-hop. Exactly, I think that we have, we're storytellers. All it is it's a different melody, different structure, that it's just opportunity to be introduced to it and then tell your story through it. And that's exactly what's happened with me with opera. I didn't know that would be some part of my life, but I was given the opportunity.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too. What is it about what you do that you love the most?
To be honest, I love just touching people through my singing. That is the only reason I ever want to sing.
Wow, you've got no problem with that.
Hell no.
It really, I mean it. Like, tears in my eyes, I mean it. That is the only reason why I sing.
Yeah.
And it has been since I was a little girl, that 3-year-old, going into my front room of my great-grandmother's room and saying, the skies and the trees and everything's so beautiful and love and happiness and peace. Nothing's changed. It's just, the voice is a bit bigger now.
Yeah. True.
If you started singing, the world would hear now.
That's right.
If you started singing, the world would hear now.
Yeah.
That's a loud voice there. Anyway, that was really nice to hear the beautiful story of yours.
Thank you so much.
Yep. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine, Fadil. We're actually talking about two different types of music here. Fadil is from
Kurdistan.
Kurdistan, right? Is it at the back of Turkey?
It is southeastern and eastern Turkey.
Right, eastern Turkey. So his structure of music is completely different to ours. Yeah? And so when he plays music, it's like his instrument is already working out the percussion bits. It's like it's like it's directing all the percussion where to go. I've never heard music like that before.
No.
Huh?
No.
That's amazing to see that interpretation is, to me, is very important to see. I was thinking, because while we're doing drumming and when you play, I was just getting into because it's so ready for me, and just jump in wherever I can and whatever I'll create and wave the motive in it. It would give me a sense of freedom. So when you're playing, and I was hearing from you this, so it was very interesting. Despite we coming from different part of the world, from Northern Hemisphere and South Hemisphere, and meeting a person who coming from a culture of 65,000 years old, and from that background and having this feeling, to me is quite a noble.
So would your instrument that you play, would you play classical music?
With this instrument, pop folk normally, but you can play classic music. The one I play called oud, which is I do play. We can, of course, it is a classic instrument, Middle instrument. Actually, the shape and the emerging of that particular oud, Kurt has played a lot important role, and that's a different story. Yes, you can easily play classical music and improvisations in any sort with that instrument, yes.
Oh, we should try and see if we can get used to orchestrate it. We'll get Tjimba to write a piece for used to.
Definitely. I always thought of writing stuff, especially with Shauntai and you, Uncle Bart.
Well, you got the most amazing instrument.
Compose something awesome.
Middle Eastern instruments. Also,
let me say something, Bart, because I brought actually Balama Saz, which we call basically we call it different. We call Saz, and there is a name for it. It is a Turkish instrument. So I didn't bring oud today with me, but so we have been playing with both you and
On the Saz.
I just want to ask a personal question, if you don't mind. What was it like travelling from Turkey across to Greece to Australia?
Actually, coming to Australia, it was coincidence. It was a funny story. What was it? It was a journey actually to explore. I mean, I was a bit sort of adventurous.
Yes.
And I like to sort of do something that different, but I had to leave Turkey because of certain political reason. That it was part of, in one way, I was hopeful, and I was on one way that, I have to be ready for the big day that, in our life. But when I say national, the life of Kurdish people. So I was trying to basically, with that hope, so just discover myself, learn about the world. And at that time, so there was cold world issues going on, so that you got East-West, and we had that sort of prejudice to stand against the general capitalist world. And so we were sort of looking to be part of this a movement that it will change the world for better, so that sort of things. But times sort of sometimes prove and verify them otherwise. So coming here, actually, I didn't have an issue. I haven't intention to come to Australia initially when I was in Greece. So I was going through base to Sweden or French. Yep. And I was told that, would you like to go Canada, United States, or Australia? I didn't know that Australia. I thought they were talking about Austria.
Hey, that's just down the road.
Yeah.
What?
So this is a paperwork while dying. What fill in your 3 options? They got 3 options. Which one you want to go? Then I say, well, French, Sweden, and Austria. After a while, I was called. So they said, you would like to be interviewed about your migration to Australia. Then there was no second thought, so I just got far away. Yeah. Actually, I want to consider the indigenous people, the Aboriginal people, because I've heard his story about them in many ways. Just I want to go see those people. So something like dream to me. So now I'm here and talking to those people. It is an honor. It should be an honor and to share in this platform with me and bring my story and get into it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love.
So beautiful.
One thing I know about you too, Uncle Bart, when people are messing with you in anything, music, whatever, you always seem to connect people. And how long have you guys known each other?
Quite 10 years.
When was the first time I met you, Bart? Remember when we were at the music shop? You had the wood skin.
Wood skin, yeah.
And I went here, I said, this is amazing tone. I could sort of easily play with the wood, and I was so excited. And I think I've asked you something else, and then you say, let's get together, and then we tried. So it was about 10 years.
10 years,
That's beautiful.
I was on Brunswick Street. Let's acknowledge that sport.
And so that's where I could tell that the oud was controlling my percussion. Because it was the only way I could go. I couldn't go no other way. And I just thought that was amazing. Like when you play Western music, you put down whatever you want and it begins.
That's right.
But with Middle Eastern music, it's like it's already mapped out for you musically within the music.
I mean, it's like what was you talking about in the last episode, Uncle? The things that get thrown out in the universe and come back. And I think that diversity is, especially in music, it sort of comes together. It's some things that out, but then something's fit for some reason.
Well, look at this here. We've got the 2 most unusual technique just straight across the road from each other.
That's right.
And something else could happen. Like I said, if you write a score using that there, I reckon that will be the first Indigenous opera piece. Because he's Indigenous too.
That's right.
It is.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. And so 10 years you've been doing music for, and I know that you've recorded a few pieces together too, and putting some stuff down. I heard that. Sounds excellent.
And it's just uplift my technique of playing percussion. So in other words, I love calypso. I love African rhythms. And I love Middle Eastern rhythms. And what's the difference? Location and left. And you go, what are you talking about left? Well, they're left and I'm right.
True.
And so, and so it's just location and heart. But basically, rhythm is it's like hanging out with affinity. It's endless.
Endless.
Yeah,
that's right.
Now, you know how they've sort of classified music, world music, jazz, reggae, blue, jazz, grassroots. So I'm exploring the measured sort of boundary between those music. Yeah. But to me, it's hard, and your imagination that you could sort of anything that in you can always collaborate with other sort of genre of music in some way, and then so. That's why I'm sort of when I'm talking about classification of the music. It can't give me some sort of boundaries. So you can't approach this one, you can't do that. I think fusionizing or through collaborating and through bringing a sort of improvisational spirit into the old genre, it makes a totally different sort of feeling.
Yeah, that's right.
And we must work on this.
Yes.
100%, I agree.
Yeah.
Even with singing, the same thing. In my master's, my focus is to build my toolbox to teach, to learn all the different genres, so that when I teach other people, they can pull out whatever stylistics, anything, and become their own conductor of their own vocal orchestra.
That's right. Not become so much of a duplicate.
And just be an artist. Just be a musician. Just be a voice. Be an instrument, and allow whatever comes out to come out. I think it's just beautiful.
Like I said, I would love for you two to get together to write an Indigenous opera piece.
That'd be amazing.
That would be great.
I think you said that 3 times. So it's great.
Yeah, no,
he's really promoting that on the podcast. Look.
No, I think it's it's like I can almost hear it because I know you two.
Oh, you know vision too. You see vision.
Yeah, I can sense it.
Yeah.
And wow, what a great train ride this been.
Yeah. And I want to say too, what an honour it is to do this with you, Unc, and you're a legend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. And Fadil and Shauntai, wow. You can't get better than this, the diversity. Tjimba, when he was 13 years old or maybe younger, he just finished mimicking Steve Vai's album.
Trying to mimic it. Yeah, I'm exactly like you guys. I try and think outside the box and play different genres of music.
He's a really amazing musician.
And to me,
absolutely,
new musicians, this just inspires me even more. But this man is the man.
Yeah.
All right, then. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. What an honour.
My pleasure.
Thank you
I'm
so
glad
much.
to know you. That's been playing, and it was so honour. And Shauntai, I enjoy any time when you're on stage.
Yeah, just beautiful.
Just make 100% into the support on the path. Wherever you are in writing.
That's right.
In other words, when you sing or perform, you're going to see us there.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And again, I want to thank everybody out there and tune into the podcast, all right? And thanks, Javier, for doing all the modding, brother. And peace out. And
this is where the real musicians hang out.
see you later.
Yeah, see you later.